operating environment has changed for the creative economy around the world. And the big change, in my opinion, is that budgets, independent budgets are coming down. So there are a lot more independent films being made for much smaller budgets. And the return on investment, obviously, can be tenfold. So that is really giving Africa an opportunity in where it can comfortably play. So even if you're making a $2 million, a $3 million, or $4 million, a $6 million movie, you know that you also stand the absolute chance of a return on that investment in the tenfolds. And that's where I'm excited, because the thing is, we've got to be realistic about the goals that we set ourselves. Yes, do we want to make the 100 million and, the 50 million and, the $20 million movies? Yes, and that time will come. But what is important now is for us to actually get into where we can start to scale. And scale means that let's move away from making the smaller budget movies. And that's not to say that we shouldn't continue to do that, because there must be growth. But for those that are growing, let's now start to look at how we can really play and scale by making movies in that region of $2 to $10 million with a decent return on investment. And all that simply means is that you're investing more in the writing, you're investing more in the crew and the talent and the marketing. Because in a lot of instances, we find that we're often making movies that don't have a sufficient marketing budget. And to be honest with you, it doesn't really matter how bad this movie is. We've seen movies that are terrible out there, international ones, by the way. But because they have a decent marketing budget attached to them, you see that they do get, people are going out and watching these movies. So we need to ensure that as we budget the movie for production, we're also budgeting for the marketing of those movies. Yeah.
So Mo, in 2025, does it still require a bit of convincing to get investors to the table to invest in Nollywood and in some of the productions that you're making?
It's easier. I'm not going to say that we are all the way there, but it's getting easier. I can give you an example. I was invited by the African Development Bank and the Africa Investment Forum to present a what's called an investors boardroom at their conference in Morocco in November of last year. And I was presenting to a room full of investors about the Afro Film Fund, which is a film fund that I'm working on in partnership with a number of DFIs. So what's important is that everybody sat in that room, and I was able to share the story and create scenarios with financial information on return on investment and the opportunities that exist around our film industry and making films across the continent. Now, one of the major advantages we have, storytelling is storytelling, right? It's about telling authentic stories. And Africa has been silent in telling those global stories. And that's where we have a mind full of stories that we can mine and mine and mine for years to come. And I think investors realize that, and they understand that there's real potential. And as I said earlier, independent films are making a huge comeback. So you're looking at your $5 million movies, your $6 million movies, and this film fund that we're setting up is looking at films, we're looking at financing films between a budget of $2 million to $8 million. So we truly believe that we will get a return on investment. And it's about managing expectations. We're not saying to investors we're going to go out there and we're going to sort of start making films that are going to bring you $1 billion return on investment. That's not to say there can't be outliers. The world has seen this happen time and time again. But it's to say that we truly believe that if we're able to put all the building blocks in place, whereby you have a great story, you have great crew, you have great talent, and the locations are all set, you are good to go. Not forgetting that as you make this movie, you are also ensuring that you have a marketing budget in place to effectively market this film, as well as a distribution partner. Another challenge that African content has is distribution. That's why I'm here in London. We're opening Ebony Life Place, London, with Ebony Life Cinemas, whereby for the first time in the United Kingdom, you can walk in and watch an African film. We're not opening till around December this year, but it's all work in progress in terms of, renovating the space and getting all our licenses and sorting all of that out. But it's going to be the first time in the United Kingdom where you can watch an African film every single day of the week. That's never happened. Again, that is big change.
What's your pitch to international investors who are looking at the economic climate and saying, why would I put my money towards films made on the continent? What what's the next few years look like? What's the convincing factor here?
I believe the convincing factor, first of all, let's look within the continent, right? We know that we have the youngest youth population in the world. We know that by the year 2050, 1 in 4 people in the world is going to be an African. So there's already a market. And investors are looking for markets no matter where the market is. So we know that Africa in itself is a market. And we also know, as I said, that the continent has been silent. And people are always looking for new. And new means us bringing our stories to the world, told in a way and manner that is just going to wow you with this new generation of filmmakers. And that is what investors need to chase. And investors need to realize that we aren't saying invest everything here, but we are saying, you know, if you don't, no risk, no return, right? So we know that there is going to be a return because it's an emerging market, and we know that emerging markets work, and there's always going to be a return on that. So it's about saying, you know, they need to start putting their money where their mouth is. We keep talking about the potential of content.